Cloak here. You can use the space. Gather in, gather in. That's it. Bravest member of the group is the little girl. Think about that. Squeeze in. Sir, use that space. There we are. Brilliant. This is not the ghost tour. I'm not going to jump out at you. Don't worry. We are here for a nice, fun, family-friendly adventure talking about the greatest book series ever made, Harry Potter. Hello, everyone. I love this enthusiasm. Excellent. Oh, guys, you are wonderful. Welcome to the one sunny day a year we get in Scotland that we call summer, and we are going to together explore the beautiful city of Edinburgh, talking about Harry Potter, talking about unicorns, talking about magic, talking about how the Hells Angels inspired it. We are going to talk about a lot of different topics today and have a nice big adventure whilst doing it. My name is Johnny, and this is not a throat infection. I am Scottish. And my first question always is, can you all understand me?
Yes.
Good. Normally it's about 50-50, even in my own family, so this is a good start. If at any point you don't understand me, I do come with subtitles, just ask. Guys, I'm going to be showing you around this beautiful city, my hometown, telling you all about Harry Potter, and we are going to have an absolute whale of a time. It's going to be an adventure. But folks, I have one big rule on my tours, and it is this. If you have a question, you ask it. Do not be shy. Do not be a stranger. Don't think, oh, he's so handsome, I can't ask him a question. Guys, if you have a question, bring it to my front door. For the next hour and a half, I am your Scottish Google. Not Bing, I've got self-esteem. If a question jumps into your mind, you ask it. It can be about Scotland. It can be about Edinburgh. It can be about Harry Potter. It can be about my hair, natural and unobtainable. If you have a question, you bring it to me. Is that clear, Dream Team?
Yes.
Guys, this is not a one-way street. I'm not just going to be having questions asked of me. I'm going to be asking questions of all of you. And there's a reason for this. Because guys, this would not be a Harry Potter tour without a house competition. And for a house competition, we need to find out what houses you're in. And I'm not talking about your address. Guys, hands up if you're in Gryffindor. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. Split up amongst the group in case a fight breaks out. I love it. Hands up if you're in Hufflepuff. Yeah. Hands up if you're in Ravenclaw. Oh my goodness. Normally they're all inside reading. That's quite a lot of them. And hands up if you're in Slytherin. Woo. Can we get a boo? And hands up if you're not a fan of Harry Potter in any way, shape or form. You've been dragged here by a loved one. Yes, you sir, yes you sir. Guys, round of applause for the real heroes of the group. I'm so sorry, I'll chuck in like a Star Wars reference halfway through to keep the interest up. But otherwise, this is going to be a long hour and a half. But don't worry, we're going to have some fun. Guys, my name is Johnny, as I said, and I'm going to be showing you around. Now, a lot of people, they wonder how these tours work. So if we can take one brief second to be boring. The count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Expelliarmus! Yes. The people who do a hand motion, you are my favourite people. Now back down, guys. We're going to start this beating heart of this ancient city more than 2,000 years old. The capital of the Kingdom of Scotland. And it was here that you'll often hear Harry Potter tours talk about the birth of Harry Potter. But I have a dark secret for all of you. It's a secret. Harry Potter was not born here. Now some of you might be thinking, oh, I'm on the wrong tour. You definitely were, madam. I'm in the wrong place. I'm following the wrong man. Where am I meant to be? But don't worry, guys. There is a massive Harry Potter connection to this city. J.K. Rowling lives here. She took a lot of inspiration from this city. She wrote the books here, but she is not from here, and Harry Potter was not born here. Harry Potter was born in somewhere much more magical than the city of Edinburgh. It was born on a 4-hour delayed train going between London and Manchester. Can I get an ooh? Ooh. That's a dramatic sound effect. Guys, that is where Harry Potter was actually born. J.K. Rowling was sat on a train and she was bored. Bored. Much like this gentleman will be today. Bored. She was bored out of her mind. And she sat on that train, delayed for 4 hours. Well, as she was waiting, she said she had the idea of a boy wizard named Harry and the magical school he went to called Hogwarts, and she thought, yes, this will make 7 excellent books and 8 mediocre films. Guys, you might think that she wrote down that idea quickly and then got back to it years later, but no! J.K. Rowling is a determined writer. The second she got off that train, she rushed home, she ran into her house, she didn't even make a cup of tea, that's illegal in Britain, and then she began writing the Harry Potter series. She put pen to paper and got straight on on with it. It was born back in 1990, a dark and mysterious time before Wi-Fi, and it would be over the next 7 years that she would craft Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. That's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone if you're from Britain or the rest of the world, the Sorcerer's Stone if you're wrong. Guys, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was finished in 1997, but before it was finished, J.K. Rowling lived an exciting and amazing life. In 1990, she moved over to Portugal. She got married. She had a daughter. She got divorced. Not from the daughter, but from her husband. Then she came back to the UK, moved to Edinburgh in 1993 to be closer to her sister. And it's here, as I said, that she'd write the series, fall in love with the city, and I'll be honest, take a huge amount of inspiration from it. So if you look around this city, it's pretty magical. Look up there, guys. What animal's up there? And don't say a seagull.
A sphinx.
A sphinx, exactly right. What house are you in, madame? What house are you in?
Slytherin.
20 points to Slytherin. Yeah, early lead. A sphinx. Where do you normally find a sphinx?
Egypt.
No, you have to shout out, madam. What house are you in?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. Yes. 20 points to Gryffindor. Ah, early neck and neck. Come on, Hufflepuff. Guys, the Sphinx. Now, we normally find the Sphinx in Egypt. Occasionally people say Las Vegas. That is also true. But it is from Egypt. It's not even Scottish, but it sits here on our old parliament. You'll also see animals like this one all over the place. What's up there on that pole?
Unicorn.
Unicorn. Sir, what house are you in? Gryffindor. 20 points to Gryffindor. Guys, the unicorn. Yes, just don't worry, sir. We're not making it up. Yes, there's a unicorn up there. The unicorn is the legally recognized national animal of the Kingdom of Scotland. In the same way that the bald eagle is to America, or other animals are to other countries, the unicorn is to Scotland. Now at this stage, people look at me like the heat's getting to me and they go, Johnny, you do know unicorns, they're debatably real. They are real. Guys, the reason why we say the unicorn is our national animal is because of what it represents. In old mythology, it was said to represent strength, spirituality, purity, and we believed all these characteristics summed up in the Scottish people. There was also a legend that whenever the unicorn met another animal, they would fight and the unicorn would win. What animal do you think that was?
Lion.
Lion! Who said lion?
Me.
Who? Oh, wonderful. What house? Oh, 60 points to Gryffindor now. Oh, I might not have to cheat to make Gryffindor win. This is great. Guys, yes, the lion. And the lion is the national animal of England. Because there are so many lions down in England. They're like rats or pigeons. They're just everywhere. Guys, the unicorn in mythology, it was said whenever it would bump into a lion would fight, and 9 times out of 10 win. And just like in real life, Scotland and England had an on-again, off-again Rachel and Ross relationship. They were always fighting, and 9 times out of 10 when they fought, Scotland would lose. But in mythology at least, we won. And that's why we chose the unicorn as our symbol. Because just like the lion fights the unicorn, Scotland fights England. Now unicorns appear twice in the Harry Potter books, in the first one and the fourth one, as part of Professor Hagrid's Care of Magical Creatures class. That's not the only magical creature from Scotland that finds itself in the Harry Potter series. For example, red caps. Does anyone here remember red caps in the third book? They're in Professor Lupin's final year exam. They're horrible, angry little goblin-looking things. Yeah. They have bright red hats, long fingernails, fiery red eyes, and little white beards. They look like little Scottish children. They're angry looking people. Now the red cap is a terrible, terrible creature. It likes to hang out near centres of violence, castles, battlefields, Scottish bars on a Saturday night, anywhere where there'll be blood. And what they like to do is they like to find someone who's been killed or kill someone themselves, dye their hat red in the blood of the person who's been murdered, and wear it as a souvenir. A child-friendly creature for a child-friendly series. Not the only one. One of my favourite creatures to appear is called the Hinky Punk. He's a little floating potato-looking thing. Oh, hello wasp. With 1 foot and a little lantern. And what he likes to do is he likes to hang out near roads and byways. And well, imagine the scene. Sir, you're walking in the forest. It's been a long day. You don't know where you're going. It's been 20 minutes since you've had a Starbucks. You're on the edge of reason. And suddenly, you see a light off in the distance. You think, civilization, Glasgow or London, anywhere but Edinburgh. And you wander towards it. But sir, what will happen is I can guarantee you will walk off a cliff, or walk into a swamp, or bump into one of our many lions. Death will befall you, sir, and the Hinky Punk will eat your remains, because that's what the Hinky Punk likes to do. He likes to hold his lantern, makes you think there's safety, when in fact there's danger and certain death. Again, a child-friendly creature for a child-friendly series. But guys, I wish I could talk about magical creatures creatures all day. But this is not a care of magical creatures class. You can't tell from the lack of facial hair, I am not Hagrid. So I'm going to take you over the road and we're going to do something much, much cooler. We're going to go give J.K. Rowling a high five. Follow me. And remember guys, questions are always welcome. Right here is the City Council building of the City of Edinburgh. I love it because it's a bit like the Ministry of Magic in that you think it's only like 5 or 6 floors, but it's actually about 11 or 12 because of how the city is laid out. Everything in Edinburgh has got a touch of magic to it, including what we're standing on now. We are on Edinburgh's Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yes. It is only 2.5 squares long, don't judge us. Guys, this is where some of the great and the good of the City of Edinburgh have come and left their handprints for history to remember them. Chris Hoy the cyclist, Ian Rankin the crime writer, Professor Peter Higgs the scientist, Dame Elizabeth Blackadder, Tom Giselian, and of course, over on that one, J.K. Rowling, Joanne Rowling. Now, here's one thing I really need to clarify. J.K. Rowling is not Scottish. Can I get a boo? Boo. Always surprised that works. Guys, J.K. Rowling was born in England. She is 1/4 Scottish on her mother's side, but she was not born in Scotland and did not start writing the series in Scotland. But in Edinburgh, we have a rule. If you live here, and more importantly, if you become a billionaire whilst living here, then you are now Scottish. Guys, J.K. Rowling has been allowed to put her handprints in the wet concrete outside the City Council because of her contribution not only to Edinburgh, but to the world. Because guys, I can't stress how amazing this woman is. If you look at sociological charts of reading in children, going from the 1950s to the 1990s, it was doing this. It was going down. See guys, the problem was, especially by the 90s, kids had a lot of distractions. Pokemon, Tamagotchi, Slinky, there was things to do other than read. And so, children just were not picking up books at the same rate that they used to. But then, in 1997, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is released, and this is what happens. It's going down, 1987, it bumps back up again. Now we can't say that was entirely due to Harry Potter, but I think we can confidently say that the fact it bumps up at the same time Harry Potter comes out, it's a strong correlation. J.K. Rowling's writings would then lead to that reading rate sort of balancing out in the noughties, and today it's kind of remained stable. But to a lot of people, she is the saviour of children's literature. When she arrived in Edinburgh, she was so poor, guys. She described herself as being as poor as you can be without being homeless. She was Glasgow poor. She was on the edge. But guys, what happened was she would go on to become the first ever billionaire off of writing in basically human history in terms of US dollars. So Charles Dickens, Mark Twain, J.R. Tolkien, none of these guys became billionaires. J.K. Rowling became a US dollar billionaire through her writing. So being so poor, she was on state assistance in 1997 to 2008, having her handprints in the ground and being the world's first writer billionaire. Folks, that's quite an amazing journey and we love her for it. And so we've allowed her. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we'd like to put her handprints there. Now guys, she is not a billionaire anymore. Can I get an aww? But don't feel too bad, she's not a billionaire anymore because she's given so much money to charity, over £100 million, so much to charity that she's dropped out of the billionaire bracket. So guys, don't worry, I think she's gonna be okay. We don't need to like sort of pass her on like a tin or something. She's gonna be fine, but she's so charitable and so good that she's actually stopped being a billionaire anymore because she's given so much money away. She's a great person. All right. There you go. Squeeze in. See where they're going. Oh, no, they're just turning around. Folks, if you'd looked over in that direction 300 years ago, all you would have seen stretching as far as the eye could see would have been grass, fields, and Scotland's other national animal, the sheep. This was all farmland. We got a time turner and spun it till our wrists broke. That is what you'd see in that direction. Because only 300 years ago was a city born on that side of the city of Edinburgh. For most of our history, we were a cramped little claustrophobic city. Scottish people, we don't like to walk or be outside. So we made sure our capital was just 1 mile of street for most of our history, and then finally we reluctantly expanded and built all the wonders of the modern age, the train station, the art gallery, the Primark, everything of note. Guys, the new town has only existed for 300 years. Yep, that's what we call new here in Scotland. If it's 300 years old, that's new. And well, there are two connections to Harry Potter in the new town. One is weak, and the other is strong. I'll tell you about the weak one first. The weak one is the Princes Street Gardens. Now that's just down there. Has anyone here been to the Princes Street Gardens? Excellent, 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 excellent. If you've not been, guys, grass, fields, people sunbathing even when it's winter, you've been to the Princes Street Gardens. Congratulations. Folks, this garden is beautiful. It's actually where my dad proposed to my mum. It's lovely. Thank you, sir. Guys, it's a lovely garden, but I'll be honest with you, 300 years ago, it was disgusting. It was Europe's largest open-air toilet. It's where all the filth of the city would eventually end up. If you want to recreate the smell of that experience, go to the Starbucks bathroom on the Royal Mile. It's the exact same smell. If you want to picture it, you guys remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? The chocolate lake there? Yeah, imagine that, but not chocolate, the thing that happens after you've eaten the chocolate. Guys, that was the North Lake of Edinburgh, and it sat underneath the Edinburgh Castle. Now, some people say that if you look at pictures of Edinburgh Castle sitting over the North Lake, it looks like Hogwarts. Hogwarts perched over the Black Lake, minus the squid, plus a disgusting smell. Folks, did these early pictures of Edinburgh inspire J.K. Rowling? I'll be honest with you, no. Probably not. Right, probably not. For a much stronger Harry Potter connection, we are going to have to burn down that bus because it's in the way. Move. Reducto. Spelliance. Avada Kedavra. Never works. Guys, behind the bus with its free Wi-Fi, there is a hotel called the Balmoral Hotel. Now this is a fancy, fancy hotel. Very fancy. It was built over 100 years ago by a British railway company, and it is a nice hotel. To stay there costs you £1,000 a night. Anyone here still looking for accommodation? Nope. That's fine. Guys, it is a fancy hotel. But guys, don't just stay there because it looks nice. If you go there, you should remember its strong Harry Potter connection. You see, guys, in 2007, J.K. Rowling had to finish a book. And if
she finished it.
Yeah, she finished it in the hotel. Guys, she wants a job. Guys, in 2007, she was going to finish the series, and she was going to finish it in that hotel because she had a chaotic life. She had 3 kids and a lot of angry fans demanding a book. So she needed some peace and quiet just to finish the series. So she turned to her family and she said, guys, listen, Mom needs some space. I need to do some writing. I'll see you all in 6 months. And she checked into that hotel for 6 months. £1,000 a night. She checked in for 6 months. You see now why there's all these overpriced Harry Potter shops? She's got to pay off that bill somehow. Guys, that is where she finished the series on the 12th of January 2007. And I must stress how fancy this hotel is. It used to have an elevator going right down into the train station. The idea was simple. You'd arrive from London, and you didn't want to interact with the common Scottish people. It's a disgusting experience. So you, if you wanted, could go straight from your train to your hotel room without even having to smell a Scottish person. You could get off the train, walk straight to the elevator, there'd be a bellhop there to welcome you, and you'd go straight up to your room, no Scottish interaction whatsoever. It's the dream. Guys, that elevator is gone, but the expense of that hotel remains, and there is now a very special room in that hotel. There's room 552. The room where she finished the series is now officially known as the J.K. Rowling Suite. It has a purple door, a little owl knocker, and it says J.K. Rowling Suite. Because on the 12th of January, she finished that series. She went to a little statue of Hermes, the Greek god of messengers and travellers, and she wrote on the back, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was finished here on the 12th of January 2007, signed J.K. Rowling, lol. And she finished the series in that hotel room. Once she'd done that, she went to the minibar, got a little bottle of champagne, drank it all, and got pretty drunk. Because that's how you finish a children's series, get blackout drunk. Folks, when she had finished that series, she marked that little bust, she left, and about a week later, the hotel staff found the little inscription on the back, and it became the Harry Potter Suite, the J.K. Rowling Suite. If you go there, guys, they have inside the room copies of the Harry Potter books for you to read. I'll be honest, guys, just take them. If you're paying £1,000 a night, those are now yours. It's very lovely, it's very nice. They have a plaque commemorating the fact the series was finished there, and they have the original statue that she wrote on sitting there in the room with a big glass case around it just in case you think of taking that as well. My friend Anna actually stayed in that suite. It is really nice. She actually sent me a little video, but weirdly enough the thing she recorded was the bathroom. The bathroom is not special in any way. It's a regular bathroom. So if you want to see a video of the J.K. Rowling bathroom, ask me. But guys, otherwise you're gonna have to go either Google image it or check it out yourself because it's pretty cool. Oh! speaking of pretty cool things, one last thing about this hotel. Look at the clock tower there. If you look at the time on the clock tower, you might notice something's wrong with it. What's wrong? It's 5 minutes past, so what house are you in? Ravenclaw. 20 points for Ravenclaw. Coming up from behind, Hufflepuff, where you at? Guys, that clock tower is 5 minutes fast, and the idea is pretty simple. It was built by a railway company back in the early 1900s, and that railway company was sick of people missing the Hogwarts Express. So they wanted people to be on time for their train. And so they set their clock 5 minutes fast. So this is what would happen. The fine gentleman or gentle lady would be walking along with their monocle. They'd look up at the clock and go, "Heavens, I'm 5 minutes late for my train!" And they would then rush to catch their train and arrive either 5 minutes early or right on time. They'd have a chuckle, "Ha ha ha, I'm going to London," and would get on the train. Guys, today of course, we don't use that as our timekeeping device. Today people look at the clock, check their phones, think they have loads of time, and they miss their train. But guys, we keep it 5 minutes fast in honor of that original idea because we think it's pretty cool. There's only one night a year it's on time. Anyone want to guess which one?
New Year's.
New Year's Eve. I have no idea who said that, so I'm just going to say a vague 20 points to everyone. Guys, New Year's Eve is exactly right. New Year's Eve is when that clock is actually on time. This is just so Edinburgh doesn't start celebrating 5 minutes before the rest of Scotland and looking a bit silly. But otherwise, it's always going to be 5 minutes fast. So only follow that clock if you're waiting to catch a train or a plane, otherwise ignore it. And speaking of ignoring things, let's ignore the busy traffic over there and head round the corner to this beautiful building here. Now if we're lucky, we'll be able to nip inside and get an amazing photo, and while we're in there, we're going to find out how J.K. Rowling got her middle name, because she doesn't have a middle name. Legally, she has no middle name, and I'm going to tell you about the skepticism that Harry Potter faced when it was first published. Follow me, guys. We're going back to 1997. So in 1997, J.K. Rowling finishes the first Harry Potter book. Can I get a huzzah? Huzzah! And it is met with a resounding meh. You see guys, J.K. Rowling, she took that first Harry Potter book, she took it to several publishers. Now the numbers vary. I've heard 8, I've heard 11, I've heard 12. Honestly guys, I'm really into this being a factually accurate tour. The internet seems to have 100 different numbers, but the most common one is 12. She takes it to 12 publishers and they all say no. Those 12 publishers are now unemployed. Folks, they all say, nope, we don't want this book, it's not for us. Children's literature, it's going into the toilet, we don't want to be a part of it. So she takes it finally to Bloomsbury, who would publish the series. And you might think, all right, so they were really into it. Yeah, Harry Potter. No. You see, what happened was they took it to the chief editor of Bloomsbury, and he went, read the one chapter he got, and went, wizards, dragons, hobbits, blah. Maybe. So he takes it home, gives it to his niece, and says, give that a read. Now she reads this, and she loves it. She thinks it's amazing. She instantly wants the next chapter. She's demanding it. And suddenly, that chief editor at Bloomsbury goes, maybe we've got a couple of theme parks here. Well, you might think then Harry Potter would skyrocket to success. Well, you would be wrong. You see guys, so skeptical were they over this first book that they told J.K. Rowling, the first billionaire of literature, to not quit her job. He said, don't quit your day job. You are not going to make any money off of this. This is just going to be an act of love. A little side project you do when you're bored, when you've got some free time on the train, you're going to write something about a boy wizard. This is not going to provide you with a living. In fact, guys, they only printed for the first run a few thousand copies, about 5,000 copies for libraries and the like. Those first editions are now worth over £30,000 a piece. They are very expensive. They're worth more than my home. They are very, very expensive. So if you find a first edition, if you've got one kicking about your back room at home, take it, hold on to it. Edinburgh, oh wow, you can hear Edinburgh's only air conditioner working there. That's amazing. Guys, I mentioned this is the most Instagram street in Edinburgh, and when you look down it, you can see why. It's pretty as a picture. It's also one of several streets, both in the UK and in Scotland, and in Edinburgh, and in the world, that claim to be the real-life Diagon Alley. Now, is this the real-life Diagon Alley? Well, I'll be honest, it's highly debated. Streets in York, Oxford, London, Glasgow, streets and cities J.K. Rowling has never visited, all claim to be, oh, let these guys through, guys, all claim to be the real life Diagon Alley. But if one street has a strong claim, it's this one. One, it's the shape. As you can tell from the name, Diagon Alley is a play on the word diagonally, as in to move diagonally. It's a nice little play on the word. And as you can see, the street moves at an angle. It's covered in lots of odd little shops. There's a bookshop down below, it's called John Kay's, which is the sort of old-fashioned bookshop you imagine in Harry Potter. Yellowing books. Exactly, you know it. At the bottom of the street here, there's a joke shop called Ah Ha Ha. And if you go into it and walk past it, it's the closest thing to Zonkos you're ever going to see in the real world. You expect Fred and George to walk out of there. It is a pretty Harry Potter looking shop. And there is of course a Harry Potter shop that used to be an antique shop in the 90s. Now it's just dedicated itself to Harry Potter. Folks, this street is obviously also in the city where J.K. Rowling lives. So there is a strong sort of connection to Harry Potter. Not only to Harry Potter though, but to magic. See this building here, the Quaker Meeting House? That was the home 300 years ago to a real life wizard, a man by the name of Thomas Ware. Thomas Ware was for 72 years an ordinary bloke. He was a religious man, a member of the town guard, a man we loved and respected. He wasn't a Quaker, I should point that out. Quakers have been here 100 years, they are lovely people. This man was very different. See, at the age of about 73, he goes to the window of his apartment back in the 1600s, he looks out at a small gathering of his religious followers and he says, "My good people, I am a wizard. I have spoken with the devil, I have communicated with Satan, and my walking stick talks to me." He then closed the window and walked off. Now most of us today would get him a milky cup of tea and say, "Tom, I think it's time you went in to live with the grandkids. It's time you settled down." But back then, people were a little less progressive than they are now. Rather than get him the help he clearly needed, man who thinks his walking stick is talking to him, they instead brought his sister before court to ask her what's going on. And what did she do? Did she deny these rumors that he was a wizard? Nope. She confirmed them. In fact, she took them up another notch. She claimed that he met secretly with the Queen of the Fairies. She claimed that they rode around in Satan's fiery chariot and that his walking stick was a gift from Satan himself. Now for this, they were executed, they were strangled and then they were burned. But it's said that their ghost still haunts this building. That at night the Quakers report hearing the deep booming voice of Thomas Ware. That they report seeing a 7-foot tall pale woman walking about the corridors. Now that could just be someone who lives there who's just getting a bunch of like weird comments about them. And they report hearing the sound of Thomas's walking stick going up and down this street, the real life Diagon Alley, of its own accord. This is Edinburgh, it's a cobblestone street with a bunch of bars, it's probably high heels. But folks, whatever you believe, it's a true fact that this street, Diagon Alley or Victoria Street, has, at least allegedly, the ghost of a real-life wizard haunting it. Oh, and parents in the group, I know we have a lot of young wizards and witches here, people still waiting on their Hogwarts letter. If you do Google that story, don't let them read it. I heavily edited the story of Thomas Ware to make it child-friendly. There's a lot of details in that they should not see until they are 18, okay? So if you're looking up the story later on, look up for your own private amusement and education. Don't show it to the younglings. Do I have your promise? Thank you, representative of all parents in the group. But right now, guys, that's a horrible story of a real-life wizard. Let's get back to nice stories of fictional wizards. Let's go. Yeah! Beautiful sound of bagpipes. Oh, that's lovely.
Can I get those subtitles?
Pardon?
Actually?
Sir, translate for him into English from Scottish. Guys, over there you'll see a little cafe called the Elephant House. Now there's a reason we're not standing over there, and it's because we would block off the road. And we're nice, we don't want to block off the road, so we're going to let people go up and see it whilst we admire it from afar. Don't panic, by the way, if you're thinking, "Oh, I really want to go to the Elephant House, but Johnny's going to lead us far away." Don't worry, we're going to finish the tour after we've seen the graveyard just over there. We'll be within spitting distance of the Elephant House, so don't panic. You'll be able to go there and get something cold and refreshing after the tour, if you want. Guys, the Elephant House is a pretty funky cafe. Now I'll be honest with you, back in the early noughties and the early 2000s, there was a lot of cafes and bars and places claiming that Harry Potter was written there. Honestly, every cafe was claiming that. But we just saw a sign passing down here saying, "Harry Potter was probably written here," brackets maybe. Guys, there was honestly a time where it was more unique for a cafe not to claim to have had Harry Potter written there than to claim it had been written there. Because every cafe made that claim. What makes the Elephant House different? Well, because they've got proof. They've got solid historical proof. There are photos of J.K. Rowling writing in there, videos of her writing in there. There's even an interview she did when she was still ginger. When you become rich, you go from being ginger to blonde. It's just what happens. She has evidence of her writing inside that cafe. So folks, I don't know where I'm going there. Guys, so folks, if one cafe can claim to be a Harry Potter cafe, it is definitely the Elephant House. Now if you're looking at it, you're thinking, it's a bit small, don't think I'll get a seat. Don't panic. It's magic. It's bigger in the back than as it first appears. Also, even if you don't like Harry Potter, there's amazing views in there of the Edinburgh Castle and the George Heriot School. So I really recommend paying a visit. And if you go, make sure, promise me, that you will go to the bathroom. Now that's a bit weird to mention. It's because the bathrooms have become a Harry Potter shrine. People have gone into those bathrooms and have written all over the walls quotes from the Harry Potter books and films. There's quotes from Harry Potter, pictures drawn on the walls, quotes from Star Wars just to confuse people. Guys, it's amazing. Honestly, people have just taken markers and Sharpies and written over the mirrors, the toilets, the walls. It's really worth checking out. But guys, there is one thing I should clarify. You see a sign there saying, birthplace of Harry Potter. Guys, I'll be honest with you, it's not the birthplace of Harry Potter. They have to put it in quotes because legally they can't claim that. Because as we all know, Harry Potter was really born where? In a 4-hour delayed train between London and Manchester. This is just where she wrote a lot of the first, second, third and fourth book. So it's got strong Harry Potter history to it, but it's not where Harry Potter was born. So if you pay it a visit, do check it out. Also guys, if you go, there's more to heat her home. That is why she wrote in cafes. She wrote in cafes because she was so poor that it was the only place she could be warm and do her writing. Can I get an aw? That is complete nonsense. That was made up by a British newspaper called the Daily Mail. The real reason why she wrote in cafes is this. She had a daughter who was 1 year old. And anyone who's had a 1-year-old child will know that it's hard to get some quiet time when you have a 1-year-old child. They're always trying to stick their fingers into plug sockets and things like that. So what she'd do is she'd take her baby for a walk through the city, and when her baby fell asleep, she would nip into a cafe and do her writing. That is why she wrote in cafes, to give her a quiet 5 minutes when she was out walking with her daughter, not because she was freezing. In fact, she wrote herself into the newspaper saying, "I am not stupid enough to own an apartment in Edinburgh without central heating." Believe it or not guys, this is not normal weather here. It's normally quite cold. Like, this is unusual. This is a sign of the end times, okay? Guys, normally it's not this beautiful. But folks, J.K. Rowling knew that. She had heating. It's complete nonsense. So if you hear, especially another Harry Potter tour guide say, "Oh, it's cause she was cold," it's rubbish, guys. You have my permission to look smug for 5 seconds as you overhear that. Follow me. We're going into the graveyard. The weather is getting a bit hot for some of us, but don't worry, we are near the conclusion of our tour. We've just got a couple more stops before the grand finale. That's French for grand finale. Guys, we have got to talk about the real life people, places and things that inspired her. So as I mentioned, J.K. Rowling, she just soaked up information in her life. She'd look at things, she'd remember them, and she'd chuck them into her stories. She has no imagination, people. She stole everything. Guys, J.K. Rowling, for example, got the name Harry because it's her favourite name for a boy. She even admitted if her first kid had been a boy, she would have called him Harry, and she would have had to come up with another name for her main character. I'm going to suggest Johnny. It's a good name. Guys, she instead went with Harry, and even though she now has a son, she didn't call him Harry, because having a kid called Harry Rowling, that's just cruel. So she let him live a normal life. Guys, Potter comes from her good friend Ian Potter, a close friend of hers when they were growing up, who used to dress up as a wizard, play pranks on people, and just generally be a bit of an idiot. There, Harry Potter. Guys, Ron Weasley was inspired by the personality of her best friend, and Hermione Granger, the smart, beautiful, driven, determined witch, she was inspired by J.K. Rowling herself. She has a very high opinion of herself. She says, "Hermione is me as a little girl." Smug woman. Guys, that's not all though. I have so many influences that I just absolutely love. Her science teacher. Snape was inspired by her real life, living and breathing today, knows he inspired Snape, science teacher. There is a man walking around England right now who's fully aware he inspired the character of Snape. But J.K. Rowling assured him that he inspired all the positive things about Snape. All the positive things, like We'll come up with something. Guys, in short, there are a lot of things that inspired her. I could talk for hours about all the real life people and things. As I said, she got names for her grandparents. Aberforth, Dumbledore's brother, is named after a small Scottish sort of brewing company that was around back in the 90s. There used to be an Aberforth company. And they'd turn to her, gritty faces, and they'd say, "Perfectly fine, thank you. How are you today?" Turns out that these people were adorably nice. They drank tea and enjoyed knitting and collected guinea pigs, and they enjoyed the poetry of like late romantic novelists. They were not the big scary guys they appeared. They were actually really cuddly and really nice. And she loved this dichotomy, the fact that these big scary guys were actually really nice so much, she inspired it into her character of Hagrid. Hagrid was inspired, you can Google it if you don't believe me, by the Hells Angels chapter down in Bristol. So now you know how bikers gangs links to Harry Potter. That's not all, guys. Honestly, we could talk for hours. Make sure everyone can see this. Some people will be looking at random graves going, how did that person have a connection? No, it's this one here. Thomas Riddell, or Tom Riddle. Thomas Riddell was an ordinary guy who lived here in Edinburgh. This is where his family are buried. And J.K. Rowling has said that while she cannot consciously remember taking this name, the coincidence is pretty eerie. After all, in the 4th book, there is a grave with 2 Thomas Riddles on it, and this is a grave with 2 Thomas Riddles on it. She said it probably inspired her, but she cannot 100% remember. But guys, this is the Thomas Riddle grave, and it is because... Well, yeah, she drank a lot of champagne when she finished. Plus, she is an honorary Scot. She's not drunk most of the time, she loses her passport. Guys, as you can see, this little pathway has fresh grass in the middle. This is because groups of people, not tour groups, ordinary people, would come down this path so much to see this grave, they carved off the grass. And they've now sealed it off to let this all recover. And they've built a nice little walkway so we can come grab our photos. So guys, this is Voldemort's grave. People come here and they leave presents here. I find wands left here, flowers left here, DVDs left here, which are promptly added to my collection, notes left here. People love to leave presents for Tom Riddle, but guys, I'll be honest with you, please take only photos and leave only footprints, because guys, the real Thomas Riddle wasn't an evil wizard. He didn't attack children or have a snake nose, he was an ordinary guy and this is his family grave. So please take photos, you're welcome to do that, but don't like spit on it or anything like that, or shout like Avada Kedavra. Just grab a photo, wish him well, and we'll head up the street to see the next Harry Potter grave. Excellent, excellent work, Dan. Right, so folks, just over here is the grave of William McGonagall. Yes, obviously the inspiration for Professor McGonagall. Now, as I said, Tom Riddle, highly debated. She says, I maybe didn't, I can't really remember, but this one she says, yep, I liked the name, I liked the guy, I stole the name. Like, there's no dispute here, this is not debated. She just went up, took the name, William McGonagall. Guys, William, you might think is a lot like his namesake, Professor McGonagall. A smart, determined, strict individual. No. William McGonagall is a poet, a great Scottish poet. He's a great Scottish poet like Robert Burns or Kanye West. He's a great Scottish poet. But guys, here's the truth of the matter. William McGonagall was not talented per se. See, he's a Scottish poet in that I think he represents what it truly means to be Scottish. Anyone can be talented and do something. Only a Scottish person can be terrible at something and keep doing it anyway. That is the Scottish way of doing things. William, though, was a great guy. I love him, and if there's any poet you read from Scotland, make sure it's William McGonagall. His works are incredible. He wrote a huge amount of poetry. He once walked for 2 days to deliver a poem to Queen Victoria because he wanted her to see his greatness. He read poems out at church, in the street, in the parks, in schools, wherever he could. He wanted the world to hear his works, and he even wrote a very famous poem about the Tay Bridge disaster that's arguably more famous than the Tay Bridge disaster itself. He is a great guy. But folks, I could tell you about his poetry, or I could read it. Would you like to hear a section of William McGonagall's poetry?
Hell yeah.
A small section. There once was a cow on a hill. It is not there anymore, for it has went away. Thank you. That is William's style of poetry. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to follow. But I love him, guys, and I'm pretty sure wherever he is now, he's still writing poetry. So guys, if you do read any poet, make sure it's William's. He's a great guy. Also, let me point out Hogwarts right there. What's a surprise? That's George Heriot's school, and it's one of not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 castle schools that are right here in Edinburgh. This school is where J.K. Rowling sent her own children. In fact, I think one of our kids might still be there now. This stage people are like, where? No, he's not going to be standing there. Guys, it's a fine school, and it has 4 towers in its castle, and those towers each have a house, and those houses are Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, I'm kidding. There are 4 houses though, and they all compete for a house cup. If you live in Edinburgh, you can send your kid to a castle school where they can compete for a house cup and learn useful things like French and maths rather than, transfiguration. If you have the money, because it costs £10,000 a year to send your kid here, then you can go to Hogwarts. It's pretty magic. Also guys, true story, this was built by a man by the name of Jingling George Heriot. He was a man who was really charitable. He got to the desperate people of Edinburgh, people who looked like they really needed help, people like this gentleman here, and he would give them a huge piece of gold that would change their lives forever, because he was the goldsmith to the king. He founded the school for the poor and the orphans of Edinburgh. Can I get an aw? Aww. It's now one of the most expensive schools in the city. Now, originally it was for the poor, now it's for the rich. How times change things for the better. Guys, it's a lovely school though, and occasionally do have open days if you want to see the inside, but you will have to check out their website. And as I said, it's just one of several schools that are said to have helped inspire the castle school nature of Hogwarts. Oh, you know, one extra fact. My friend Kim went to this school, good friend of mine, grew up together. She went to this school and she said the worst thing about it was because it used to be a boarding school, the way the classrooms were set out, they all connected to each other, so that if you were late for class, and your class was at the wrong part of the school, you'd have to pass through 2 or 3 other classrooms, maybe even 4, before you got there. So it'd be like, you're late for maths, there's your history teacher, geography teacher, modern studies teacher, and your maths teacher, all giving you a detention. Perfect. But guys, we're now gonna head out of the graveyard, because people talk about Harry Potter being divorced from Scotland. What they're forgetting is that what Scotland has done since the beginning of visitors coming here is take ideas and customs from other places, adopt them into our national culture, and make it part of our identity and our history. So it starts off with the kilts and stuff in the 1800s, originally worn by the Highlanders but would have looked nothing like this, and goes on today to Harry Potter. It's just the natural development of culture, and there's no point standing on a corner being grumpy about it. You know, there's enough things in Scotland to be grumpy about, like the smell and the lack of healthy food.
Yeah, well, the smell now compared to...
Oh yeah, well, one of our old nicknames was Old Ricky, basically means old stinky. We just smelt bad. Today, Edinburgh, the most common thing I hear is that we smell like freshly opened cereal, because the breweries on the western side of the city, they blow that yeasty smell through the centre of town, and so people say it smells like open cereal. Well, I
Better than an open sewer.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't notice it because I grew up here. So it was friends who moved here who said, your city smells the same.